What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This time we're taking a look at American Sniper, directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Bradley Cooper. American Sniper is based on the true story of Chris Kyle, who was one of the more infamous Navy SEALs with over 160-something kills confirmed under his belt. Now, American Sniper pretty much tells the story about Chris Kyle's life leading up to his untimely demise in 2013. Now, overall, I thought this movie was I think this movie is fantastic. This is Clint Eastwood at his best. This is Clint Eastwood at his most grittiest and most intense. I think American Sniper is an extremely intense, riveting movie that from the moment you start it, you can't take your eyes off it. And it's all anchored by a powerhouse performance by Bradley Cooper as Chris Kyle. I think Bradley Cooper is one of the most underrated actors working today because he can balance being a comedian, but when you want him to do a dark, gritty drama like American Sniper, he can act it out flawlessly. And I thought he did a fantastic job playing Chris Kyle. I like how we first see Chris Kyle when he's trying to be like a cowboy, he's working in a rodeo. We see his early life, and we gradually see the man that Chris Kyle becomes once he gets enlisted into the Navy SEALs, and we see how war changes him from a mental standpoint. We see how it affects the relationships all around him, particularly with that of his family, with his wife and his children. And Bradley Cooper plays a man who is slowly losing a grip on his own reality to perfection. Very, very fantastic performance. And you also have Sienna Miller, who plays the woman who would eventually become Chris Kyle's wife, Taya. She also puts on a very understated performance in this movie. I thought she was great as well. I think her and Cooper have a really good chemistry with one another. I like the scene where they first meet up. It's a nice little cutie scene without being too overly romantic with it. And I like the moments of drama. There's like a couple of intense scenes where Chris is at war, and while he's getting gunned down, he's on the phone with his wife, and that is just sheer horrifying. Putting yourself in that shoes, you're on the phone talking to a loved one who's in the middle of a war. You can hear the gunshots from the other side, and you just don't know if the person you're talking to is getting killed themselves. It's an extremely intense moment in this movie after she just realized that the baby she's carrying is going to be a boy, and she's hearing these things over the phone. It's a horrific scene, but I love it, but I like it a lot because it adds to the tension in this movie, which is brilliantly directed by Clint Eastwood. From a production, speaking of which, from a production standpoint, this movie, like I said, is fantastic. It's dark, it's grounded, it's gritty, it's got that Clint Eastwood style to it, you know. And this movie basically has no running score. There's no score in this music. It's almost like you're watching a documentary in a way, the way Clint Eastwood films it, to me at least. And he really captures that grimy, dirty look of Iraq when Chris Kyle's at war. And a lot of the gunfire sequences are really, really well done. And they're done with very intense precision that only Clint Eastwood could bring to the table. Because Clint Eastwood has experience in doing movies like these, so it's got that gritty, just intense focus on it, which is fantastic. It's beautiful stuff. And to counterbalance that, you have the normal life in a way, when we see Chris interacting with his family and his kids. And we see the deterioration of the things that Chris had to do at war and the things he's done. Chris Kyle had to shoot a mother and her son because they were about to blow up an army convoy. Chris, while getting pinned down by a sniper, saw a father get gunned down and saw a kid get killed with a power drill in Iraq. It's intense, just scary, horrific shit this man had to experience and had to do, and you can see how that affected him. He was losing his grip on reality until he goes to a VA hospital, and he slowly starts to get his sanity back, and he slowly starts to become the family man that his family craves for and deserves. And just as he's starting to get his life on track in a good way, it gets cut short from him, while Chris Kyle, trying to help a man who was feeling the way he was feeling, wanting to help out somebody, that person was already too far gone, and he ends up murdering Chris. Now, we don't see the murder happen because we don't really need to see it, but because we don't really need to see how Chris gets killed. We just know he gets killed, and it's a very sad end to an overall sad story of a man who, good man at heart, but you can tell that war has changed him, and changed the way he was. And just as he was starting to get back and to assimilate back into a normal life, it gets cut short from him, and that's the sad story of Chris Kyle in a way. Is and that's the sad story of Chris Kyle, a man who served his country, and in the end he gets killed for it by another man who served in the army just like he did. It's a very, 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 very sad story. And Clint Eastwood, to me, captured all of that perfectly with precision. I cannot praise American Sniper enough. This is a brilliantly made movie. It's got outstanding acting from Bradley Cooper, and has a really good performance by Sienna Miller. It has an outstanding production value. Like I said, this movie is gritty. It's dark. It handles its themes really, really well. And like I said, a powerhouse performance by Bradley Cooper. This is one of his best. This is one of the best Bradley Cooper performances I've seen in a movie. This is one of Clint Eastwood's best modern day movies, and I have nothing. I got no qualms with this movie. I think it's all handled really, really well. This movie's got a really good pace to it. Like this movie never gets boring, and it moves at a really rapid fire pace. Clint Eastwood, he gets through Chris's origins when we see him as a kid, and we see him first enroll into the Navy SEALs. Clint, buys all that with precision. You get what you need to get, and then we just get into what the meat of this movie, which is Chris Kyle in Iraq during the war, and we see and pretty much his character study of a man who is slowly being changed by war, and how his sanity and worldview is being changed by war, where the only way he can have any where the only way he can be at ease in a way is if he's pretty much killing during war, and it's horrifying that somebody has to get that kind of satisfaction in order for them to feel whole. And Clint Eastwood and Bradley Cooper capture that perfectly. So yeah, American Sniper to me is a perfect 10. Highly recommend this movie. It is outstanding. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.